Good evening and welcome to the June 2022 Park and Recreation Board meeting. Take a roll call. In person here, we have Dave Malinowski, Rob Labar, and virtually we have Dennis Wysocki and myself, Doug Kraus. Good evening. Thank you everybody for attending. Our first order of business on the agenda is to approve 2 meeting minutes. First one will be the March special meeting from March 15th, 2022.
I thought those were covered, Doug.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you, Dennis.
I thought we did those last time.
We missed one set. I didn't have them in a packet for you.
Oh.
Yeah.
The April minutes say that we moved and seconded to approve the March minutes.
All right, I didn't understand. We were approving the March ones first, the March meeting. And any changes to the March? No. All right, all in favor?
Well, I think what he's saying here is.
Oh, no, we approved the March one. So, okay, sorry, Monica, you had March.
Well, there was 2 March meetings.
This was the special meeting, Dennis, that we had in March.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any changes to the March special meeting notes? If none, all in favor? Aye, so approved. All right, and then if we could, does anybody make a motion to approve the April 2022 meeting minutes?
So moved.
All right, Dennis moved. Dennis, anybody second? David second. Any comments, changes? No, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, meeting minutes approved. Just want to, Mike Blundy has joined the meeting. Good evening, Mike.
Good evening.
Hi,
Kim
Mike.
Rock is here too.
And Kim is on the line. She just won't be visible tonight. She'll be here, but on the phone.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Kim. Liaison report. Anybody? I see George. Do you have any updates for us? Good evening.
Yeah, your mic isn't on. Just press the button on top.
There you go.
George Lieben, 1035 Harbor Drive, president of YMS. Nothing crazy to report. Our spring seasons are just about finalized, about another week left. And we have started to tear down our fields and get the goals to the tree lines to make it easy for mowing. Expected to do Monica likes that, expect a turf repair to start July 6th. And after that, we signed a proposal to fix our fence. So I'm hoping that the fence is repaired. I don't quite have a time on it yet, but hopefully before our season begins. So those are our basic updates. So great season, a lot of kids had a ton of fun. So any questions for me?
Sorry, Dennis, Mike, any questions for George?
None for me.
Nope. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, George.
Any other liaisons on the line? From baseball, lacrosse?
I think there was a states meeting tonight for
That's
baseball.
Correct. Okay. All right. Next on the agenda, we're going to spend some time. Monica's going to go through each of these specific issues on the director's report. And our goal for tonight really is to understand and build out timelines. So for you that are here on the phone or in person, this is really a general discussion around what each of these particular topics, projects. We're not going to get into detail about what's in the project, more so about a timeline on how we can best address and engage the public, right? So it's not a specific date. It might be month 1, month 2. So it's really a discussion around what things need to happen, and the timeline for each of the specific projects that are outlined. And that's what we're going to kind of come to some agreement and identify what those are, and then bring them back again in a more formal process. So Monica, I'm going to turn it over to you to talk first on the Play for All update that was approved by the Board of Supervisors at the June meeting. And just make sure everybody can see the presentation when it comes up.
Yeah, it's up. I can see it.
You can see it?
Yep.
All right. So like Doug said, this is discussion. We're not even really going to get into real big weeds about what the time on month 1, month 2, what month 3 is, but really just kind of get an idea of what's important to the board and to the public, and discuss essentially how we're going to engage the public and how we're going to communicate with the public along the way. So let's just go ahead and get started here. Play for All was approved at the June 1st, 2022 Board of Supervisor meeting. What does this mean? This means that we now have some guidelines on things that emerged as we did our needs assessment, and we can start to look forward into the future with some of the things. And you could see in the Play for All plan, which is online under the planning section of the Parks and Recreation page, what a year 1 would look like. So we're just going to go through some of what might be some initial projects and what that might look like moving forward. So the discussion items today, the discussion items we have today, Makefield Park study, Snipes, and partnership with Pensbury School District. The big 3 question. Oh, what do I do here? How do I fix this, Kyle? Well, I can keep presenting. I'm going to say everything that's on my slide. So the big 3 questions for me, and I can share these online under the planning site. So as we go through things, I'll share everything that I do, every meeting message, just so you can be in the loop. The big 3 questions is how to communicate with the residents, how we plan to engage the residents in processes, and what are potential timelines. These are things that we need to figure out as a board moving forward. So communication with residents. We have a marketing communication outreach plan in that there are tools that will give us some guidelines moving forward. What we will do is create, using these tools, we will create a plan. We will make that public on our Parks and Recreation site. The way that you're going to find everything is we're going to create sections for everything that's going on the planning page of the Parks and Recreation website. So you go to Lower Makefield Township, departments, Parks and Recreation Department, and Parks and Recreation Planning. That's how you get there. 3 clicks. Lower Makefield Township website, Parks and Recreation, then Parks and Recreation Planning. And as we move forward with anything, it's all going to be public. It's going to be made available as soon as possible, timelines, everything, okay? So we will really communicate with the community as we move forward with this process. Looking to provide notice to the residents via email, website, and social media to diversify the way that we're communicating. And we will also make sure that we follow all of our codes with relation to reaching out to neighboring residents as we move forward with anything. Now, like I said, we're not even that far. We're not even at the planning phase right now. We're just talking about how we'll engage and move forward. I will be sure to notify everybody via email, website, and social media 1 week prior to a social media to a meeting before we talk, and 1 month at least, hopefully longer, before any kind of public workshop, so we could get enough people engaged and involved. So we're looking at 1 month before a public workshop and at least 1 week before a public meeting, but hopefully we'll have a whole timeline in place that everybody can get involved and engaged. So we just want to make sure that we're including everybody in the process and that is very clear as what to expect.
Can you just clarify email? Because I don't know, is there a formal
Good question.
email, because from the township, or is there something that people are going to have to register for? Because I don't know if,
You do have to register for our email notification system. It's on our website main page. You can sign up. We also do social media blasts with how to sign up for that. If you sign up for Parks and Recreation notifications or township notifications, you will get this email communication as we're moving forward. So if you sign up for either one of those, you will get the email. If you have trouble, you can email me directly. My email is monica.t@lmt.org, like Lower Makefield Township, monica.t@lmt.org. And like John had mentioned in the previous board supervisor meeting, our ordinances have shifted so much that there is a lot of notification for neighbors. So moving into any kind of actual planning pieces, you will get notification per the ordinance. So just want to make sure that everybody is clear about that.
that's different than just like a public workshop.
Yeah, public workshops and plannings until we actually apply for the project.
Yeah,
It is-
land development and zoning is different than
Then are part of the process.
people are
Yes.
clear with that.
Yes. So I really wish you could see my slides, but because it just makes it a little bit easier, but I will talk you through things here. Some options I want to throw out to the board today. The program or the plan, the Play for All plan recommends 2 workshop sessions for this. And I'm talking about a real roll up your sleeves, get into it workshop session. So I recommend for at least Macclesfield and Snipes that we have those 2 type of workshop sessions and any planning coming forward. Is this operator error? Probably. How do I escape out of this? Where did it go? Yeah, I think it kicked me out. It's okay. I'll just keep talking through it because I'll be sure to share all these so you can see. I skipped ahead here. So we recommend, I recommend to the board a minimum of 2 workshops. Can we do more? Yes, but I think no less than 2 public type workshops for any project moving forward. That makes it engaging the public. We need the support of the public. We want to hear you. We want to see what you have to say about things. So I would say at least 2 public workshops. Now with the Snipes project in particular, this is not something that's a requirement, but something that I think would be nice is doing a open house site visit with tours with township. I had been talking to Jim Majewski about potentially having kind of like an open house where we're open an hour or 2 one day and maybe do into the evening and give people the opportunity to see exactly what's out there ahead of time. So that is something that I'd throw out to the board as a potential option, understanding that it's not like best conditions. You know, we won't be able to go through the whole park, not best conditions, but you can kind of get a general view of what things are out there. And we will have public park board meetings and a schedule for that along the way, and public board of supervisor meetings as we go along the way too and discuss things. So there's an interesting fun fact. We don't have any budget for this or any funding or anything like that. So there's only so much we can do right now, right? So what we can do is we can start to communicate with the community, engage the community. We can start the discussion. One thing that I think would be neat to do, and I'm going to throw this out to the board, is we do have some plans that never saw the light of day because the project was ended for Snipes. I'd love to take those 2 plans that are already drawn and bring our new planning coordinator out and run a public workshop session where we allow the residents to dig in and look at those, give feedback in a workshop type setting. that would be a good early start. And then we'd have some feedback to provide to the engineer before he ever even gets involved or, at this point, because there are drawings that our engineer did draw based on some community feedback way back when, but never saw the light of day, like I said. So that might be something that we consider to get started. So that is one thing. And like I said, I have on here, what do we need to wait for? We don't have funding. We have no money to work with on this yet. So that's where we're at. I don't want you to think that we're any farther ahead than that right now. Okay. So don't get worried. We really are. It's very important to us to include everybody. So we really want to make sure that you're involved and engaged. So our potential timeline right now could be a community engagement and discussion. Okay. And then the third topic I had discussed at the beginning is a partnership with Pensbury, which is not necessarily the same type of project, but it is something that we should start. What we'd like to do now is set up a meeting with Dr. Smith and surrounding municipality to discuss next steps, start to apply for I believe it's a $5,000 or $10,000 grant to review the possibilities of a partnership and what that would look like. And then I'll be able to continue reaching back out to the board and discuss what's coming of that project as it goes. So that is something that we could start now. So the two things that we can do immediately is start the discussion. And then we can start the discussion with partnership with Pensbury. So that's kind of fast moving right there. So that's all I have today for those slides. Just want to discuss the Play for All plan and what would be next steps. And if anybody has any questions from the board, I'd be glad to answer them. Or the community, of course, but board first.
Does any of the board members have specific questions for Monica?
With the dialogue with the Pensbury School District, who needs to be involved in that? Will that be you? Will that be somebody else from the township or?
I was going to reach out to the other Park and Rec board members or Park and Rec directors in Falls Township. And then Yardley Borough, I would have to see who the Park and Rec liaison. I believe they have a committee, so maybe they're chair of their committee. And for Tullytown, they also have a committee. I'd have to reach out to their committee. They don't have a staff. So, and then anybody else who you think should be involved. I mean, that's initially the group that I think should be involved. And I imagine since we have Tullytown and Yardley Borough Park and Rec boards involved, maybe we should have someone from our board and Falls Township board involved with the discussion too. That would be completely up to you if you want to decide who's involved, but we can at least start some initial conversations. I did reach out to all of those municipalities and townships in one way or another. Everybody is excited about it. It's just a matter of getting the ball rolling.
And if I recall, the grant was more about getting an individual then who could set up programming, right? For
Yeah, that's one potential. There's other potential too. Maybe joint facility use, joint,
That would
infrastructure.
be separate then from the grant, because the grant would be more around, that was for hiring that individual who would help set up some continuity programming, correct?
Not just, it could be anything. That's
Okay.
what we're exploring. What would it look like altogether? Yeah. But there are grants out there that could help pay for that person should we need it.
Hey, Monica, I thought the grant was just to bring the parties together.
Yes.
It was just funding that. And then whatever discussions came from that, then you'd have to apply for other grants and so forth.
Yes, it's exploratory.
Yeah. Has there been any discussions about our library? Establishing partnerships with that, or making the facility better, or utilizing it more?
Well, the library is owned by the county. We do pre-COVID, we did partner with them frequently. They came into our summer camps and taught lessons. We went there with summer camp and programs, and they came to a lot of our community events and that. So we did work often with the library. After COVID, things changed with the way they program. So we've seen less of that, but I don't think that's off the table. I think we could just do that anyway. I mean, we were already doing it.
Okay.
I had a question regarding the assessment and Makefield and just timing of, whether it's the assessment of Makefield versus opening up public comment for Snipes, right? And understanding, since we don't have any funding budgeted yet, but understanding what can be done to get that preparation done for the assessment. In my opinion, I think that assessment needs to be implemented and at least completed prior to updating Snipes and getting public opinion. So knowing that, again, no funding yet, but you have to have funding to do an RFP. I mean, or at least draft one, like understanding what that assessment would look like.
We'd have to have funding to draft an RFP.
Okay, I was just curious as
Yeah.
to what needs to be in place to do whatever pre-work can be done.
Yeah, I mean, what we can start doing is we could reach out to the Board of Supervisor in the next meeting. Well, not this next meeting, maybe the following meeting, and discuss potential funding for the Makefield Park study. But I believe some of this stuff can be done simultaneously. I mean, the study will give good feedback moving forward with Snipes. But at the same time, Makefield Park isn't a lone wolf. Like we have to find out maybe some options for Mac. If we do have extra space, what do we do? If we don't have extra space, what do we do? We need a couple options. So I think the Makefield Park study can be done a little bit simultaneously, but does have to be done before any kind of final decision is made for Snipes.
Monica?
Anybody in-
Yes.
Do you know, for the school properties that are within the boundaries of Lower Makefield Township,
Mhm.
how did the school get the land that the buildings are on conveyed to them?
I'm sorry, you broke up a little. I didn't.
Yeah, he asked how the school districts get that land that's within the township. So there's Edgewood School here and they have land there, but it's within our township, but they own the land.
They own the land.
I think
That
he was
was
just
deeded to
curious,
them
like how
somehow?
that process happens. Like do they buy it from the township or they owned it prior to the town?
I don't think they took it away from the township. I mean,
Okay.
they bought it from whoever they bought it from. Yes. Mhm.
I just didn't, I'm asking only because I wasn't sure of the process. I didn't know if there was some sort of joint ownership of the land that would give the township some additional rights to use some of the facilities, but
No, I mean, we do partner often. Like for Community Day, we do have Community Day on Edgewood Field. We partner here and there for different programs with our pavilions and we help them out with their field days. And, we do partner in that way
Yeah.
for field use, but, their land is their land, our land is our land.
okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Are there any comments from the public in person or on the line? Come on up to the microphone, state your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Bill Gabota. I live at 1230 Ash Lane. I am intrigued by the ideas of the public workshops. Can you explain a little bit more about that? What kind of capacity for people will be there? How many people can be accommodated? How do we do that? Because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be interested.
I do understand that, Bill. I think I want to engage with our new planning person, I think it's planning coordinator is his official title, to come up with a plan. We could do a number of things. We could do kind of a sign up and if there's an overflow of sign up, we do a second day, or we could find a larger location to be able to facilitate more people. So there's a few things that we can do to do that, but there's no final plan on what that will look like quite yet.
Are you asking specific to like the being on property or just in general, like in the community center?
Just in general, because it's an
Okay.
intriguing idea, and I could see that if lots of people are interested, we'll rapidly run out of space.
Mhm.
We did the pool one at the community center. It was pretty full. But I think to Monica's point, if we find that it's at capacity, we'd run a second session. Could be hybrid as well.
Yeah, well, hybrid's tough because you're not going to get the same kind of feedback. I'd rather have it in person. That's me personally. But I'd like to see a little different from the pool workshop where we had, we gave you projects at tables and, that we want your feedback on this, and maybe your table kind of comes together with a, mini, like where you're really rolling your sleeves up and working less than what we saw with the pool where, we gave a presentation and asked for feedback. This will be a little different. We're looking for real digging in.
Yes. Do you envision as a pre-process, people submitting, questions, topics, perhaps some written documents to be part of that process?
Possibly, but I imagine the first one wouldn't be like that. The first one would probably be a workshop where we put some stuff in front of you and gave you the opportunity to dig in. Maybe a second round would be something where we're taking some preliminary feedback and discussing that based on what we learned from the first one.
I see.
Yeah.
Once again, there's going to be a lot of people with a lot of stuff to say.
Oh, I hear you, Bill. I see that already.
All right. Very
Yes.
good. Indeed. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Can I ask you
Yeah.
a quick question? You seem engaged. Do you have any ideas of what would be beneficial to the public?
You asked me a mighty big question, sir. I am a naturalist at the Bowman's Hill Wildflower Preserve.
Okay.
And I am definitely engaged in the preservation of trees, plants, animals, birds. And I want to see as much of that applied to this process as possible.
Okay.
Trees are definitely our friends in terms of air pollution, flood water mitigation, feeding birds, feeding other animals. And we don't know what's there in the Snipes tract. So we need an inventory of what lives there.
Okay.
Just a suggestion. This is about the third time I've made that suggestion.
I'm a son of a forester, so I certainly agree with you on all of that. So
Very good indeed. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Anything
Bill.
else? I'll be glad to. I can go on for hours. Thank you.
I'll be up way past my bedtime, Bill.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other public comment regarding the Play for All update from Monica? Please come on up and state your name and address.
I'm Virginia Lobel. I live at 1396 Heller Drive and share Bill's concerns. I don't have specific comments because we have no specifics. However, I'd like to touch on three principles that as leaders of the community, I hope you'll take to heart. The first is community. Community, a group of people living in the same space or with a particular characteristic in common. Clearly, when you speak about Play for All, especially with regard to playing fields, it's a certain sector of the community. In the Venn diagram of life, there is the overlap, but the community is a larger whole. Those of us who are not toting kids back and forth to fields are still here because we want to enjoy our community and all it has to offer. The next is stewardship. Exactly what Bill touched on. The conducting, supervising, or managing of something, especially the careful, responsible management of something entrusted to one's care. None of us is going to be here forever. What we leave behind for our children is important. I don't know what Lower Makefield's plan is with regard to sustainability or with regard to a plan for a carbon footprint, but I do know that turf fields, artificial turf fields, contribute negatively in so many ways, literally from the manufacturing to the use, the installation, the disposal. That land is precious, and I hope that my children, my grandchildren, and their grandchildren will be able to remember a time when there were trees there. They're not going to remember the time when we were able to cut down our own Christmas tree on that space, but they can remember a time when they can walk on the grass and hear the birds sing and not have 80-foot lights and parking every single day. true open space for the broader community. And finally, and this is a legal concept that doesn't actually apply to this, but in the interest of a public forum, the quiet enjoyment of one's space. Having your personal property removed because someone doesn't agree with your opinion is just plain wrong. This is not to this group, but it's to the broader community. If you don't like a sign, walk past it. If you like it, yay, I'm happy for it. There are plenty of people in my community that have put up signs that I didn't really agree with, but we live in a free country. We certainly enjoy our Bucks County freedom. And I hope that as stewards of this community, that's something that we all enforce.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Any public comment on the line?
There's no public comment online.
All right, if we move on to the next, did you have, Dennis? You were looking like you wanted
I
to say
just-
something.
Yeah, just a question for that last speaker. That was a little surprising to me about the statistics she used about the negative impact of turf fields. And I think that's, it's a serious point to be considered. Is there any of the statistics that she was referencing in terms of negative impact that you could provide us that would help us understand?
I have a document that was produced by an entity called a source, an organization, safehealthyplayingfields.org. It's rather dated. I'm sure things have improved since then, but I'll outline very briefly. Each synthetic turf surface, and mind you, hopefully they're grass, if it ends up being that, it creates a heat island. Anybody who's ever walked on a turf field, you felt it in 100-degree heat. You've seen soccer cleats literally melting into the turf. It's undesirably hot. It absorbs and retains, and more importantly, emanates heat and temperature. It generates carbon dioxide. This is an old statistic, but a 2-acre artificial turf field generates 55.6 tons of carbon dioxide in addition to greenhouse gases and pollutants. It increases the carbon footprint by removing natural gas and eliminating the ability of the surface to retain carbon dioxide, converting that into oxygen. It contains hydrocarbon. It contributes to hydrocarbon gassing off. So that's, as the synthetic breaks down, it emanates, it releases into the atmosphere. It increases reliance on dirty fossil fuels. It makes for a hazardous waste cocktail: tire, rubber, metal, zinc, selenium, lead, cadmium, phthalates, polyaromatics, all of that stuff that goes into the rubber that is the underlayment. And I'm sure the technology has improved, but the artificial grass, when it breaks down, it basically doesn't break down. It degrades water quality because any water that's flowing onto that and flows into the community is picking up all of that delicious cocktail
I know you said
of
it's
bad
dated.
stuff. And finally, it ends up in a landfill where it doesn't break down. So hopefully that helps.
I actually couldn't write that fast. Would you be able to provide the link to that article for me?
I think it was Safe, Healthy Playing Fields. Was the link? Got that, Dennis? Safehealthyplayingfields.org.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
And we do have one caller on the line for public comment.
Go ahead,
You guys
please
are ready.
state your name and
Let me
address.
bring you- They're in the room now.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. State your name and address, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. My name is Lori Gray. I'm at 895 Slate Hill Road. I just wanted to comment. I wanted to first apologize that I wasn't able to be there in person this evening. So Monica and I have spoken a couple of different times, and I am extremely interested in being involved, especially the Makefield project, because my property butts right up to Makefield Park. And I was just, so one, I wanted to let Monica know that I am on the line. I am participating. I am engaged, very much so. I will watch the website. I've already signed up previously for the email address, so I'll be looking for all of the information from that. But just a quick question. When we talk about the assessment being done simultaneously or before engaging the public, can you explain that a little bit more? Because I'm a little concerned about that.
Oh, before engaging the public for snipes. So the study is a separate conversation. The study would engage the public in a different way, but he's talking about the snipes discussion. When we said that it'd be happening before or simultaneously with snipes discussion.
Okay, so as far as Makefield is concerned, everything will be out in the open, on the board, on the table, no
All
backroom
the same.
conversations or discussions. Okay,
Yes.
great.
All the same.
Thanks, Monica. I just wanted to be sure about that. So, and also just to make sure that you knew I was participating. So thanks very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm glad you asked because I could see how that could be confusing. So thank you.
Okay, great. Yeah, good. Thanks. Thank you.
If no more public comment, we're going to move on to projects and capital improvements from the most recent June 9th special meeting.
Okay, so there's actually some that are outside of the June 9th meeting. We have the community trail plan or community trail project that's been ongoing for a few years now. It's finally going to get started this summer. Very exciting. So we don't have the exact timeline, but they have the notice proceed in the end of this month, which would be exciting. And that's the trail right in front of the Fred Allen Fields. It's all pervious surface. And also in front of the community center, all the way to the pool. So also, I believe there's some traffic signaling that would happen along with that project. So that is going to start happening. I'm very excited for summer camp. I'm not sure if it's going to be done before summer camp this year, but it will be done for next year, which is very exciting. Does anybody have any questions on that one?
Just for clarification, that's basically the pathway from the community center runs from the softball fields, runs back through the community center,
To the pool.
down through right at the light up here,
Mhm.
and down to the pool.
Yes,
It'll go to the crosswalk then, I guess.
it'll go to the crosswalk. Yes.
By the gravel parking lot.
Yes, and there's a crosswalk that'll be in front of Fred Allen that leads that way too. So the kids who are coming from across the road will be able to get to the ball fields, get to the community center, get to the pool safely, which is exciting. Woodside bike path, I really don't have any update. Put it on there as a marker. Skylar tennis courts, at the last Board of Supervisors special meeting for sewer proceeds, $400,000 was allocated towards Skylar tennis courts. I'm going to start to move forward. Now, what that means, it means the same shape and size it is now with some water mitigation should cover going down 3 inches, getting deep enough to be able to repair the underneath part that is causing the cracking. Will it still crack in the future? Yes, tennis courts crack, but it's such bad damage at this point that we'll be able to repair. We're looking to close those tennis courts until that project can get done. So more information on that. I'll continue to communicate with you on that one, but I'm looking to bring that to the Board of Supervisors for a bid, hopefully in the next meeting or so.
When you say close those courts until it's done, are they going to remain open until that project, or are you planning to shut those down?
I'm planning to close them now. Yeah, they're in very bad shape.
I understand.
Yeah.
I know people are out there. I didn't know what
Yes.
the timeline was. And
Yeah, well,
notice to the public.
I didn't want to close them before we opened the Memorial Park courts so that we would be able to offset the load a little bit. So the Memorial Park courts are now open. I've been working with YM Tennis to get in between their seasons. They switch out soon the next 2 weeks, and they will move to the community park tennis courts temporarily until we can get through whatever it is with Skylar. The courts will stay in the same dimensions that they're at, but they're not changing anything real significant. It's just making them safe.
And I know as part of the meeting, they did talk about reorientation. Is there any consideration doing an alt bid for that, just to get a cost, or not really?
I mean, we could do an alternate bid to get the cost, but, and I know the orientation isn't right, but to be honest, I don't get complaints from the community about it. Them being in the wrong orientation. As a matter of fact, I think they get nice shade out there. So to me, I don't know if it's worth spending the extra money to do the reorientation, getting up to $700,000. I mean, what we're talking about here is those courts right now face east-west. The courts should face north-south. So there's never a time where the sun is in your eyes during the day. We don't, at those fields, or the courts, I don't get complaints about it. So unless if you do you know anything?
No.
Yeah.
I just didn't know if it was beneficial to do the alt bid, just to see if it was, by surprise, it might come back not as high as you thought.
I mean, I'd be glad to mention it if it's the board's opinion. Yep, that'd be fine. Are you ready to move on to the next one?
And we'll go through all of them, then we'll
Okay.
open it up for public comment on any.
Veterans Square project, as part of the ADA transition plan, there was a section in there. Every park was analyzed as part of the ADA transition plan. I really wanted to prioritize the Veterans Square ADA transition plan. Piece of the transition plan. That project there is about $60,000 in work. It's parking, just trying to get to the different parts of the site and different parts of the park. Since our veterans, served our country and they're out there on Veterans Day and they oftentimes have mixed abilities, I think this would be a great project to prioritize in that plan. So that was approved also for $60,000, and then repairing that tot lot that's out there for $100,000 was also approved in the June 9th meeting. I'm looking to start moving forward first with the Veterans Square ADA because I think that's more of a priority than the tot lot. And so I'm hoping to bring that in next meeting or two to the Board of Supervisor for approval. I also think the tot lot requires a little bit more scrutiny, what we're going to put out there, that kind of thing. So I'd like to move forward with that in the next meeting or so, as soon as I can get some RFP information together from the engineer. Memorial Park Secret Garden is the same types of situation, the ADA updates. That is our ADA accessible playground. It was designed that way from the beginning. The surface, as you know, has been a little bit of a problem. We've struggled with it from the get-go, especially at the seams breaking and that kind of thing. Now it's at its 7-year lifespan, so it's really time to budget some money towards that. So that is something that does need to be fixed. And in addition, part of the ADA transition plan was adding shade to that playground. So it's safe to play at in the summer and it's nice and shaded and you can actually touch the equipment. So shade and the surface was also approved as part of the June 9th meeting, which, and by approved, I mean funding was allocated towards those projects. So those two projects hopefully move forward with shortly. They do have to work together. They have to be simultaneous. When we put the shade up, we're going to have to replace the flooring. So it makes sense to do those two projects together. But we do need a little bit of design work for that as far as the shade goes. The surface doesn't need much as far as prep work for.
And all the other equipment or
that hasn't reached its lifespan. It's about 15 years for a playground. So we're at 7 years now. So next time the flooring is up would be the time to reevaluate the playground equipment. And then the same thing for the Heacock tot lot. I have no clear date as to when that was installed, except for it was established in 79, I believe. It's very, very old equipment, similar to Veterans Square. There's chipping paint on it.
the top lot by the Cardinal tennis.
Yes, Cardinal tennis courts.
Are we, I know I've brought this up numerous times, are we gonna somehow get a pathway up there right now?
Well, that's part of the ADA transition plan. It
Is it?
wasn't necessarily part of repairing the tot lot, but that is something that we have as part of the ADA transition plan for the future.
So that was not
Mhm.
approved as.
Technically, the court is ADA accessible from the other side, that there's a path that leads to, well, that's the technicality. Yeah, if you park on that side. So it's really not in violation. But we did analyze that as part of the ADA transition plan, finding a better way to get up there, but that's going to be a pretty hefty project.
Even if it's, well, if it's ADA compliant the other way, but is there a way to put some
Maybe steps or something.
steps in
Yeah.
there? Because right now it's just dirt, grass, right?
Yeah. I mean, we could look at it.
Safest way for people to keep walking up and down.
We could look at it for sure. Yeah. But it wasn't approved as part of the approvals. Yeah. And then another thing that was approved as part of the approvals was Keola lights. So that is one field at Keola. It's the furthest back field from the road. It's the last field before you that you can cut through the community center and Fred Allen. So just so you know, it's like the furthest off the road. It's tucked back. It's what PAA asked for when I had talked to them about this project being, that's their most heavily used field, and it's the hardest for them to schedule. So if they had a little bit more time on the field, that'd be able to offset some of their scheduling that they have to do in other locations. That's the 10 to 12 age group. It's not the 60-90, the 40. Yeah, yes. Yep, but tucked back. We've just had a lot of questions about exactly where it's located and wanted to make sure that I was very clear about where it's located. So if you have any questions about any of those, if the public has any question, I'd be glad to talk about those.
So before we move on, yes, I'll ask if the board members have any questions for Monica on those particular projects.
Did you say that was one of the 60-foot fields? That's getting the lights at Keola?
The 50-70 field?
Yeah, I believe
Not
it's
the one,
57.
not the one by the water tower, but the other one that's kind of tucked in the back corner.
Oh, okay. Yeah. One of the newer fields.
Yes, right up here from the township.
It's not the 90-foot one, it's the other one. Got it.
Right, the other one. Yep.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Monica from the board?
Just to be clear about it, so the board approved allocation of money for all of the ones that you outlined. Now you need to get bids and
Yeah, and I
forward on those things.
it's not feasible to like just go in and do all these projects at once. You know, there's some management to it too. So the two right now that I'm looking to prioritize is the big safety concern, which is Skylar and the Veterans Square ADA. And then as we move forward through that process, I will start going to the board with some of the other updates as we move forward.
In the prioritizing of those, I agree with you. Is that something that we need to vote on, or that's just something that, since they've been approved, it's to you and your staff to figure out the best timeline for the community?
I mean, you don't have to, but you're voting on it does help. I mean, I'd be glad for you guys to vote on it.
Probably it'll be dependent on when bids go out and they come back, because if bids don't come in as an expected price.
So along that lines, I guess, will bids go out for all of these things?
They will
now?
all have to be RFP'd within their own time. So, you know, there's some design work that will have to go into it from the engineers first before some of it goes out to RFP. Some of them we might be able to get on consortium bid sites. You know, we'll have to look at the different options for each different project. You know, but we have other things going on. You know, we have the Makefield Park plan and, you know, a number of other things. So while these are all very important, we have to kind of work through them at a reasonable schedule too. We can't just do everything all at once. Does anybody have a concern? Okay.
Hi, questions from the public? Come up and state your name and address.
Hi, my name is Catherine Beeth. My address is 1049 Countess Drive. So I'm about a block away from Edgewood and the ball fields. So as much as I hate lights, and I had a conversation with Monica after the community center was built, but given that it's going in, I have two questions. Is there any reason that the lights can't be off when the field is not in use? We have a bad habit in this township of keeping lights on all night.
I have great news for you, actually. The new technology for lighting is actually much more easy to control than it is with some of the older lights. The lights that we have in the Macclesfield,
They're key based like Makefield, so somebody has to physically turn them on
Oh,
and
that's
physically turn
something.
them
so
on.
now
Rather
you
than
have,
just leaving them on all night.
No, I
Yeah.
mean, well, one, they automatically go off at a certain time, so they don't stay on. They're supposed to, but they're like when I ran PAA, like it was, you go there with a key,
Mhm.
you shut it off when you're
Because
done.
if you're not using the field, why do you need lights?
yeah, I 100%
Somebody
agree
would
with
have to
that.
turn them on, like they wouldn't go on automatically.
It's really, I think it's very important for a couple of reasons. One, I'm a volunteer at Bowman's Hill also, so the environment matters. And as Bill knows, certain things hunt at night. Owls, which I don't hear anymore in my backyard because of the community center. Foxes, and they eat mice, so they're good things. So it's important, I think, plus it costs money, not to use the lights when we don't need them. And if the lights are going to be on during a game, also, I assume they're going to be able to should be turned off at a certain hour. And somebody should be playing baseball 2:00 in the morning.
Well, they don't stay on past.
Yeah, we have had trouble at Macclesfield Park, say if there's a lightning storm, right? And then the timers get thrown off and all that. So with these new lights, you have assigned users and we know who has turned them on and who didn't turn them off. Like we get reports, you know what I mean? So we can keep better track of things. Or I'd be able to be out to dinner and I hear the lights are on and I could, just turn them off from my phone, which is kind of
So is
neat
there
in
an
a way.
intent to make sure that they're not on when the field is not used?
Yeah, that's always the intent. It's just, I'm gonna be real honest.
Check it out every night and make sure I'll call you. but-
You can. I would prefer
right
the
down the street
feedback
from me.
because
You can
I'm
knock
not
on my
always here
door
at 10 o'clock at night, you know what I mean? So I would prefer the feedback. Yeah.
Lights also bring traffic in when typically it's a very quiet. So there's another reason I hate lights. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Anybody on the line?
No public comment online.
Sure, come on up.
Good evening, Mark Doretto, 599 Sackney Lane. First of all, thank you for all you guys and gals do. Appreciate that. On the lights, so is there any notification? So I back up against Oxford Valley and anytime anything's done within a certain distance from the house, there needs to be public notification to the homeowners, right? So I've not seen anything, and just by chance, a neighbor had picked up on what was going on with the lights. So any reason why those of us that are most affected by that, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing to have lights. Love the fields. It beats the mulch piles that we used to have years ago. So, but no notification whatsoever.
We're not at the place of even close to installing them yet. It's just allocating funds towards the project. Now, this is,
It's a first step though, right? Approval means you're.
that's just approval for funding. We'd still have to go through the
Got
RFP.
it.
We'd have to do it through the design and
Land of
yeah.
the
So
point
is there
of-
another step of?
there'll be a lot more steps. Actually,
Of approval though?
Yeah, I reached out to, well, he has a new title, but planning and zoning director who changed to, I don't remember his new title, but he has a new title, Jim Majewski. And I had asked him what ordinance and requirements for notification were today, actually, as a matter of fact. So I will be clear with the public and the community about what's going on. I won't surprise you. You'll know.
So again, that's making us aware of what's going on. Again, is there an approval step that needs to take place?
Well, essentially, a project like this would go, I don't know how far I'd have to go into planning for it at this point, to be honest. I'm still finding out myself. But there will be definitely approval, an RFP process, approval by the Board of Supervisors. So there's a few more steps that definitely have to happen. This project isn't a whole redevelopment of a park, so it's a little different. It's just adding lights to a current park. And I hate to say just adding lights to a current park, but it's not as much as like a redevelopment of Snipes or a redevelopment of Makefield Park. So it's a little different in the way that we approach it, but I will be sure to notify and communicate with neighbors.
All right, very good.
Mhm.
All right, thank you very much.
Yes.
Any other public comment? Any other questions for Monica from the board on capital improvement projects? Okay,
Okay.
moving on to Capra update.
Sure. So Capra, I included in your packet our initial submission. which is hefty. See, this is the initial Capra National Accreditation Certification. Just so you could see what we put in. That's just the way it goes. I didn't know how to make it any bigger. So with that, I just wanted to let you know where we're at in the process. So this got submitted. Our review committee had reviewed it. They had given us back some feedback, 33 pages of feedback that we had 15 days to respond to. Tomorrow's the 15th day. So we will be submitting our final responses to Capra accreditation team tomorrow, just providing extra supplemental information, explaining things a little bit more. It's just a little, some of it's vague information here and there about certain things. Then I believe it's the week of the 24th. They come for a virtual visit and we kind of fine tune things. So they'll look at our feedback. They'll have some time before their visit to assess and see if there's any more gaps or clarification that they need. We'll have meetings. They'll meet with the chief. They might meet with one or two of the board members if you're available. And they kind of just want to get a real feel for the parks and get some clarity on some things and that type of thing. Then after that, they take their assessment back and they determine fully if we have met all the requirements or not. And then we find out in August if we are going to be approved. And then we would go to Arizona, the national conference, which actually I've learned now that the actual approval process hearing would be virtual. So we could invite the board to participate in the hearing, which would be really neat. Well, you could go to Arizona if you want to. So at the national conference, and so that's kind of how that works from there. I'm feeling good about our submission and barring anything significant at this point, but let's all just keep our fingers crossed and be excited moving forward. But it's been a very exciting process. It's been a huge learning process, and I really think our department is better for it. So I'm very excited about it. I just wanted to keep you up to date on that. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. Got anything?
Ready from the board? Any questions? No.
Nope. All right, moving on to pool update. The pool is moving along. We have special events back. A registration is moving along. It was a little tough this year. It's like a normal cold year. A lot of people waited to register until the first hot day. So we got a lot of registration this month, more so than we do in normal months. It's kind of a normal thing when it's cold in the spring, cold, wet, and rainy. We also raise the prices, so you never know how things are going to go. We're at about, so I gave you a couple of reports in here. Let me get to them. The one report is the official formal report. Looks like this. Okay, and then this is an up-to-date, year-to-date statistical report that comes from our community pass system. So you can kind of get an idea of year-to-date where we are versus where we were when the report was done at the end of last month. So I just kind of wanted you to see that. If you look at the trends, last year we were a lot higher early on because a lot of people were scared that we were going to cut off registration and they wanted to get in fast. So we got a real big rush, more so than ever, first year after COVID. So if you look at the following year, as far as percentage registration, where we were at, we're more in line with other years outside of last year. So actually, I think this
sheet.
Yeah, this is end of April.
You were
Yeah,
ahead of last
yeah,
year.
yeah. So you can, so right now we're at about a break even rate, I would say, of where we are year to date.
Your budget's $1,032,000, is that correct?
$1,032,000 right
Target.
Now.
That's the target number. Right?
Yeah, actually, at the end of the day, I think we're at 823,000. So this is just from Friday. This is from Friday.
Okay.
So it's like how registration's coming in right
About
now.
80% of the way.
Yeah, we're about 80% of the way.
The 2021 at June, we were at 810,824. Is that correct? In June?
Of 2021?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
ahead.
almost, I mean, we're a little ahead, but almost on par with the.
Well, you got to remember, we raised the rates, so we probably want to be a little bit higher,
Be higher in dollars, but.
but that's the
less-
end of June.
No, I mean, this one here that you have printed out
Yeah,
says program totals of 810,845.
right. So that would
We
be,
were at 810,824 in June, so we're right on par with what we had in 2021. I know that
yeah,
these are different.
yeah, fees are different. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then we're only at mid-June. So, and then things will start slowing down after that. And then we have August memberships where we'll get another rush. That's kind of the trend.
We ended up with 800.
Yeah. So, and we're, are we good? Okay, just checking. And then swim lessons we're back to normal amount of swim lessons. So we've doubled them from last year. So we'll see more revenue there. And then also our guest passes have increased. So we'll see more revenue there, and it'll be interesting to see if the numbers come out in the way that we anticipated them. So will be interesting to see that at the end of the season. So I'll keep you updated along the way on that too. I also wanted to show you pay rates for this year, kind of what the staff went through as far as their workshop. We had a normal workshop this year. They had full training. We also, another big change, and I posted about this on the internet, but if you didn't see, we have Kat now in place, and she's a lifeguard instructor trainer, which means that she can train people to train lifeguards. So now we have, after this week, I believe it's 6, we'll have 6 more lifeguard instructors, meaning that we can train more and more lifeguards along the way. I am very excited about that because we don't have to do outreach to say, you know, when people are interested, we have to send them to Doylestown, YMCA, or anywhere else. Now we can do everything internally, which is very, very exciting. Very excited about that. Another thing that Kat brought with her is very exciting. I'm very excited about it. I'm excited for her because this was a real long time goal for her, is American Red Cross tapes their training videos. I believe it's every 5 or 7 years. And we have been selected as a site for them to tape their training videos. So we are going to be the site for National Red Cross training videos this year. They're going to do it throughout the summer. It's very exciting. So I just wanted to share that information with you. It's really cool. And I know that Kat is super excited about it because it's kind of prestigious in lifeguard land to be selected by Red Cross like that. And she will actually be in the videos. And I believe some of our other staff might also be part of the training videos too. So those are videos seen across the country for US Red Cross, and it's very exciting. So just wanted to share that information too.
With the higher salaries, and I see the staff, like obviously, you know, senior guards higher than last year, regular guards higher than last year. There was an interesting radio story today on NPR about, again, the struggle to fill lifeguards, right? They were still struggling around the country.
Not us.
Not us. So that's a good thing. Do you think that was a combination of salary, early outreach, multiple factors? Just curious. And are the other municipalities or local pools seeing the same struggles as national trend, or are they in line with, or did they solve the problem like you did?
I feel like it's hard for me to say at this point. Early on, I feel like some of the other pools were having some trouble. I think some of the things that we did well, we did early outreach. We did education meetings for, you know, what it's like to have a first job. You know, we have a very professional staff and we have a good atmosphere and environment. And I think those things really help us out. Interestingly enough, knowing that other pools are struggling, I did want to send a survey out to our staff to see why they like to work at our pool, you know, what makes it so intriguing and why, and we want to keep doing more of that.
Now that we've got like I would say, I don't know if you're fully staffed, but like in a referral program, as you think you go into next year, like if just an idea is like how to get the people who are guards, like to get maybe a friend, you know, if they come back, some sort of referral program.
I mean, that's
Might
definitely
be
something
to consider as.
to consider. Yeah.
Just to get people to sign up early might be a good opportunity to say, hey, I've got a friend. And there's a.
Yeah.
opportunity for them to get
And just to be clear, we are
free hot dogs. or-
fully staffed. We're fully staffed. You know, we always have one or two people drop off and we might need a gate person here or there as we get through the summer. But right now, we're in really good shape. Yeah. And I do really believe it's a great environment. It's very professional. Kat has brought us to the next level that we need to be at. And I'm very happy with the way things are looking. You all should go out and visit and see. Check it out. Oh, you will. Yeah, they're coming. So I just also moving on, Camp LMT and Tween Adventures. Camp LMT, Tween Adventures, just the same type of information, who's on staff, how we're staffed, how it's looking, the type of training they got, job descriptions. We have a very, very professional staff. I believe we have 3 teachers on staff this year. 3 teachers, or one nursing student and 2 teachers on staff. I believe one with a master's degree and one with a bachelor's. We have a great staff. Camp Tween Adventures is, you know, we have our highest week is about 14 people. I believe that's going to be a word of mouth program. I think once people start experiencing it, they'll start telling friends, but it's also very scary as a tween to sign up for something without really knowing what it's going to be like. So I think that'll be a word of mouth program. And then summer camp, you can see the waiting list, how many people we've had to withdraw from waiting lists. Just for the record, Mike Brody entered the room. He was lightly late. You can see our revenues, you can see our participation, but I really want you to notice how many people were waitlisted and withdrawn from the wait list. So 38 people withdrawn from the wait list, still 20 people on the wait list. I mean, camp is in high demand and we cannot accommodate the numbers. And this year we're adding a air-conditioned tent out behind the community center to be able to expand our camp. I mean, that's how we adapted this year. We have, you can see we have about 80 kids some weeks. So that's just something to really think about for the future. Where could we expand to be able to accommodate these families? I mean,
Definitely encourage as part of that outreach to the Pensbury School District.
mhm.
And then you use schools to accommodate if the rec center, obviously, in this case, the community center, really doesn't have the space to accommodate that, but you've got, you know, Makefield, and I don't know, I know they used to have summer camps of their own of some sort of science fairs, but you've got 2 fairly large schools that,
Now, we did reach out to the schools this year. There was conflict, you know, so we did try. We tried a number of things, Masonic Hall, the schools. There was a little, the little church building next to Veterans Square, which is still too little. You know, we were looking at.
Bacon Church now on Schuyler, not on Schuyler, but on Sutphin, but I don't know. I mean, I know they want to do something with it, but I don't know. if
Yeah,
they
we.
Utilize now.
So you know, if you guys have any idea, I'll reach out to anybody. But you know, we're turning away a lot of people. It's sad. Just want to bring that up. I also included the schedules for both Tween Adventures and summer camp, all the trip schedules, pool days, all that stuff. I just wanted you to see kind of what our campers do on big days. And they do theme days and all kinds of things, and they have presenters come. We do a lot of fun things for camp. So just wanted to share that with you. If you ask me, we have the best camp in town. In town. Well, we're the only camp in town. So we have the best camp in the state. Okay, that's a big claim, but we don't have enough room to accommodate people. So there's that. Special events and programs. I'm just going to go through these real quick. The whole program guide is in here. I'm not going to go through everything in the program. A lot of good fitness, wellness programming, art programming. Take a look, register today. And you can see some of our programming numbers. First in the packet is swim lesson programs. I meant to put that with pool, but then also the other programming is in there too. All right.
You don't do adult swim lessons if you're non-member, right? Or is like as part of the community like classes, we don't do adult swim lessons. if you're not a
We,
member.
at one time, we were offering adult classes. You have to be a member to take any kind of class. But we also do one-on-ones. So we have a lot of our adult folks that would like lessons do one-on-ones or one-on-twos.
Join the pool because they don't have swim, so maybe
Yeah, but our swim lessons are so full with the people that we have, it'd be hard to accommodate, or maybe it's something that, we change the pricing for a non-member, but our swim lessons are so competitive as it is
Right.
that it'd be really hard to accommodate. Yeah. Just want to be realistic with you. We did some tweaking of the website, and you mentioned tickets is not on there yet, but they will be. We did some tweaking and rearranging of the website to make it a little bit easier to navigate, probably still do some tweaking with it. There were just big bulky buttons and it was hard to navigate before. Now it's a little easier to maneuver through, easier to find things, easier to find ways to get involved, programs about the department, and give community feedback. So just wanted to share you. And, there's other parts of the page that we changed. One of them is the special events. We never had a special events section. Can you believe that? So now we have a special events section on the website. So just wanted to share that. Go ahead and click around and explore, but we'll be adding the tickets sales probably on Thursday after Capra deadline. And then the next thing, finally, discount tickets are back. They're a little different than they used to be. Some of them you have to go to the office to pick up. Some of them you have to do online. There's a lot of different options for them. One thing that we're also going to be selling real soon, but we don't have here is Disney on Ice. So we're going to sell tickets to Disney on Ice. We've never done that. We've never, we did the flower show once. We did a hockey game this year, partnership with the NHL as a fundraiser. We're doing more ticket sales. You'll see more of that on our website coming soon. We're still updating, so expect that.
how are those presented to you? Is there a collective site where you can choose what discounts that you want to offer, or people come to you and
Well,
and present them to you?
we have we're part of Pennsylvania Recreation and Park Societies. They do a lot of the organizing for that. With things that are more local, like Philadelphia Flower Show, the Flyers, and Disney on Ice, we often get approached to be able to sell things like that at a discounted rate. So we're kind of navigating that process. It's expanding for us as we learn more. But it is a fun thing that we could offer to the community as just a bonus discount tickets. There's also discount movie tickets that we looked into too. I kind of postponed that during COVID. Movie sales weren't as great, and people were watching a lot on Disney Plus and in their backyard theaters that they created during COVID. So I didn't know whether it was worth digging into that. Yeah. So that's being said, that might be something we explore too. And then exciting news for the Recreation and Park Association Conference. Elizabeth and I are actually going to be presenters this year at the conference. So we're presenting The Power of the Post is the title of our session. We're going to talk a lot about how we engage the community with social media and different ways to engage the community with social media, and a little bit about marketing mix and how you could do it in a small department and all, that type of stuff. It's going to be very fun. We're so excited. We were selected because there are a lot of people who apply. I have presented at Pennsylvania Park and Rec Conference. So this is more a national stage. So we're very excited about that. So we're 2 in 1. We'll go there for Capra and to present. So it's very exciting. Yes, thanks. Very
So
exciting.
is this separate and apart from Capra? You just
Completely.
applied for this and got it?
Mhm. Yeah. We figured we were gonna
Super Bowl and World Series
all in one thing. Yeah, all together at once. Yeah, very exciting. So, and there's a lot of exciting stuff going on, the Red Cross, this, Capra, a lot of fun things. So things are coming together for us. It's nice. And I think, and just to talk about maintenance quickly, we have had so many tree issues this year. I mean, insane. So one of the tree issues recently I had an assessment done behind the road there behind the community center because there was a tree that fell down on someone's yard, right, from our property. So we own all of that behind Fred Allen Field and back in there. And that tree fell down. And when we had our arborists go out to check the site, they noticed like 7 other trees. And I said, oh my, so we better check this whole row just to see what other houses could be impacted. And it ended up being, I can't remember, something like 50 some trees that were dead along that whole row that we had to take down, various different reasons, but they were completely hollow. We had to take them all down. And there have been, it seems, more and more of those, but just to let you know that the tree situation is, it's significant this year. I mean, we've had to take a lot of trees down for being dead or dying in people's backyards. And we have a lot of land abutting people's yard.
Does that come out of the park and rec budget?
Yeah, that's part of Park and Rec.
25 would take it out of my house. 25 take down, since in the 5 years I've lived here, 20 to 25 trees have come down.
Yeah, it's been getting more and more every year. We just had a completely dead ginormous tree at Veterans Square. We had about 5 at Kids Kingdom this year, dead. It's a mixture. There are a lot of ash in the mix, but I just want you to be aware because it's significant. And I just want you to be aware of the situation.
Monica, did the arborist say what was causing it?
Yeah, if you look at the arborist report, it says, it kind of gives some indication. I know there were some ants in there eating up the trees. Some of them had just aged out. You can see the list of types of trees here: sassafras, black cherry, white oak.
Do you think any of that is attributed to these spotted lanternflies?
They didn't say clearly that it was spotted lanternflies, but I guess it could be.
Just, for the record, I'm doing my part. I must have.
My fear is it's going to be even more because of the spotted lanternflies. You know what I mean? Right now we have what we have, but it could be.
Monica, do we have a yearly 5-year that arborist goes out and checks out all the lands that we own, or?
Well, we have so many acres, about 600 acres of land that would be, it'd be almost impossible. I try to keep, if someone reports it behind their home, we go out and we check it and we have an arborist look and see if it's dead or dying and worth trimming or cutting down. We don't cut down a tree. We'll trim it first. We really want to try and save a tree. We only cut it down if we know it's unsafe or dead or dying. But I kind of have the arborist on call to do we did try to do some prevention. Now, if you go out to Mac, we had a bunch of trees that we recognize were potential problems for the future. The arborist happened to notice it when he was out there for another project. We talked about what would be the best way. We trimmed up some of those trees. So you'll see there's a couple of very butchered trees at Macclesfield Park right now, but they will look nice next year. It's just a matter of maintaining them in a way that it's not going to be a problem in the future. Every tree, there was one tree leaning over a fence that we did address, and a bunch of trees along the walkways and along the parking lot that we had addressed because they were just in dangerous locations. If they're in the middle of the woods, they're in the middle of the woods and nature happens,
Yeah, I was just wondering, as the maintenance crews are out there and stuff like that, is that something that they're taught and instructed to keep an eye out, and then we get somebody out to how to check the tree or how
Yeah.
that?
The whole Makefield Park project was because a maintenance staff reported that there was a tree that he thought, we have what we call a near miss report. So if there's anything that could be a potential future problem, our staff are instructed to provide us with a report about that so that we can address it before it becomes a problem. That actually came from the incident at the pool with the umbrella. I don't know if you know about that incident, but there was an umbrella that had flown across the pool and hit a young boy in the head. And he had to go in the hospital, it was significant. And when I talked to the staff about what happened, they said, well, umbrellas have been flying all summer. I said, wow, how come no one ever said anything? Like, I'm not at the pool every day. So that is where the near miss report was invented. So now the pool staff are very well trained and versed on how to near miss, what is considered a near miss. I'd rather them be over the top than not, but the staff are trained for that.
Dennis, you got a question?
Yeah, it was a question, not so much for trees that, die from natural causes, but the person earlier in the meeting who talked about like carbon footprint, when we do remove a tree, let's say I'm thinking of the trees at Snipes, if something progressed there and whatever the development was involved removal of trees, do we have a program that would then have us replant trees in maybe a different part of town or different area that could use them to kind of maintain the same carbon
Yes.
footprint?
Yeah, we have an ordinance for development that with the removal of one tree, there's a certain amount of trees that need to be planted in its place.
Good.
So there is an ordinance for that, and we have the tree bank fund. So they can pay a fee in lieu of doing that so that we can use it for mass planting. So those mass plantings we've been doing for the last few years are paid for out of the tree bank fund to replace trees. Sometimes contractors will plant trees on site. Sometimes contractors will plant trees throughout the parks. It will give them a couple locations that might be in our tree, plan, and they'll plant them. Now, when we cut down a tree because it's dead, there is no plan in place
Yeah,
about replacing
asking
that
about, yeah.
tree.
Thank
Yeah.
What happens with the trees when we cut them down? Does that go to firewood someplace, or does that
Well, kind
go
of
to the person that takes out the trees for us?
Yeah, well, it depends. If the tree can be placed in the woods safely, we allow nature to take its course. We put it back into the woods. But if the tree needs to be removed, they remove the tree. I like to swing my hands around. They remove the tree and they take it with them.
Yeah.
And I think that, does anybody else have any more tree questions?
Maintenance, thanks. I think the crew finally got all the vines and
Yes,
ancillary growth off of the dog park fence. So
I believe they did too.
Have you reported the tree situation to the EAC? That would seem like a great thing for them to take on the revitalization of the research why our trees are failing in certain parts of our open space.
That would be a great, they do a lot of the planting in the organization. It would be a great thing to address with them. I agree. Could do that. But I haven't.
kind of building on what Rob said earlier is that I know we can't go everywhere, but does the crew do like beginning of the year, like just quick visual, make sure that like anything that's, or do they?
Well, they're in the parks every day. They spend days mowing Makefield Park. They're looking.
Like the beginning of the
see stuff.
seasons, like baseball starting, hey, we do a quick walk, make sure
Yeah.
there's nothing, same thing with, soccer,
Mhm.
whether it's fall or spring.
And us, Lynn, the operations manager, and myself, we do site visits. So we call them good neighbor visits. We found the tree that was leaning over the house at Makefield Park during a good neighbor visit. So we do good neighbor visits too.
Something, say something, like I'm your eyes at the dog park.
Yeah, you are my eyes at the door. I told you that. Yeah. So if you see something, say something, please report it. We can't be everywhere at once. We have, like we said in the plan, it was about one staff for every 125 acres. So, yeah, but please, if you're in the parks and you see something, let us know.
Dennis, do you have a new comment or is that your hand from the previous comment?
That is a new comment and came to me as Monica was talking about the staff being out there in the parks every day mowing. Monica, do we, in our program to replace equipment, are we starting to look at electric equipment to avoid the, number one, the cost of the fuel, but also the environmental impact of the fuel burning mowers?
Yeah, so with our new maintenance plan and our new township fleet management plan, we are monitoring in a different way the maintenance of our machinery. Once we get a better picture of where we're at, we're going to create a long-term replacement plan. The fleet management plan is through Enterprise. We haven't formalized a contract at this time, but that was just presented to the boards of supervisors. It's also for the police and public works and parks and recreation. So that will give us a rotation of vehicles. At this time, I don't know if it includes mowers or just vehicles. Those are all the logistics I need to work out as we move forward with that. But we are tracking them. We are creating a plan. It is my intent to create a long-term plan for all things, playgrounds, replacement plan, just to make sure that we're on top of replacing things and things aren't 40, 50 years old before we consider it. So that's something that's down the line. It's not something that's tomorrow, but I have been working through it over time. So I'm hoping that I can bring that to you sometime soon.
And that would include if the technology is available and decent electric equipment.
Yeah, technology. So a lights replacement plan, a playground replacement plan, turf rotation plan, or not turf, baseball field, drainage plan. So I'm looking at, like we have the bike path maintenance plan to continue to move forward with things like that for all amenities in the parks.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Monica. If there's no other topics for discussion, I hear a motion to adjourn. Mr. Malinowski, any second? Second by Rob Lavar. All righty, and we are adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.